Now with Venezuela, the messaging from the U.S. administration with Venezuela is you get access to commodities if we say you do. Now, when you look back to Russia, when that happened, most central banks turned around and said, you know what, maybe I should have less treasuries, more gold. And you saw last year, roughly a quarter of global gold purchases, global new gold output was purchased by central banks. Now, you've gotten to the point where, gold, silver, platinum, they've all gone parabolic. So now the price of gold, because it is the cheapest commodity to store by far, the price of gold relative to other commodities is now quite expensive. Historically, an ounce of gold is 200 to 300 bushels of wheat. Today, it's 900 bushels of wheat. Historically, 1 barrel of oil is 3 to 4 ounces of silver. Today, 1 ounce of silver is $75 and a barrel of oil is $55. So I think if you're China now, and again, in India, Turkey, anybody who wants to have a foreign policy independent of that of the United States, and that could perhaps clash with the United States, i.e. not Europe, since I say we because I'm French, we're behaving like a bunch of lackeys. But aside from Europe, everybody else would look at this and say, you know what, do I buy gold and silver? They're expensive but cheap to store. Or do I buy the commodities like oil and wheat that I do need, that are expensive to store, but that are today quite cheap? So, look, we live in a reflationary world. Commodities are going up, US dollars going down, everybody's following very loose fiscal and monetary policies. And the geopolitical situation, to me, means that a lot of countries are going to bump up their commodity inventories.
So, we were talking about this offline a couple of seconds ago before we went live, right? And this is to do with Venezuela and oil and the state of the petrodollar. But I think one of the things that got the U.S. concerned was there were, I think, Chinese names in Venezuela, where Venezuela actually decided to transact in renminbi, if I'm not mistaken, right? So this gets to the whole Chinese currency question. Since probably late last year, we've been noticing, I think both of us, right? Daily fixes always firmer, 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 firmer. What is going on here? Obviously, I mean, at some stage, a weak competitive currency is not as helpful, but now it's going the other way. What's going on, do you think?
So you're absolutely right. For me, one of the most important market development of the past few weeks is the rise in the renminbi. And, because the headlines on Iran and Venezuela have been so captivating, people haven't paid that much attention to it. But to your point, the renminbi has gone up 27 out of the past 31 days, which is highly, highly unusual. The PBOC usually likes to make a two-way market, sort of go up 3 days, down 2 days, etc. So what is going on? I think the PBOC is signaling to its own exporters, its own importers, guys, the renminbi is now moving up, and, adjust your hedges accordingly. So that's the signal. Now, to your point, why would they do that today? I think it corresponds to a number of things. First, the Chinese trade surplus is enormous. When the trade war started in 2018, it was 20 billion a month. Now it's 100 billion plus a month. So it's just to show you how the trade war has been a failure, really. That's 1.3 trillion a year. That's the GDP of Saudi Arabia. Like, no country has run trade surpluses that are this big ever. This is like mind-blowing. So I think to begin with, when you're taking in 100 billion a month from the rest of the world, if you want the renminbi to stay at 7 to 1, you got to print 700 billion renminbi every month, and at some point you're going to lose control of monetary policy. So that could be one thing. But I think more importantly, the real reason is when you listen to the rhetoric of the Chinese government, for really 7 or 8 years, everything was, we need to move up the industrial value chain, we need to de-Westernize our supply chain, the US is coming for us. That was the shift, that was the policy for 7, 8 years. When you want to de-Westernize your supply chain, having a weak currency helps. Today, China feels, perhaps wrongly, but I think they're actually right, it's okay, we won the trade war. The US can't come after us anymore. That was very clear when Trump started to talk about a G2 world. And the fact that China no longer feels threatened by the United States now means that China can turn around and say, you know what, it's no longer about pushing industry, it's now about pushing consumption. And you see that change of rhetoric in the government. They keep talking about pushing consumption. One of the tools you have to push consumption is a currency revaluation. A cheap currency favors the producer, a weak, stronger currency favors the consumer. So they're doing that shift And it's a super important shift for the world because a stronger renminbi and a shift towards more consumption in China is very, very reflationary for the world. So I'm not surprised that in the past few months, all the reflationary trades have worked. Financials are outperforming, miners are outperforming, yield curves are steepening. You look at it, you know, it all corresponds to China shifting from being this huge deflationary black hole for the world as it was trying to move up the industrial value chain to now all of a sudden being reflationary for everybody.